Welcome back to Shannons Club TV, the program for Shannons Club members and all motoring enthusiasts who are passionate about their cars and motorcycles. Motor racing historian Mark Oastler and I have been busy on the Shannons Club website writing about cars in Australia, never to be forgotten because of what they achieved on the road and in competition. These paired histories have proven so popular with Shannons Club members, we are now featuring the cars here on Shannons Club TV. Mark, what is it about certain road cars that makes them so successful on the road and in competition?
I think when you look back at the history of Australian motor racing, the thing that really stands out, particularly with productions or series production cars, is power to weight ratio. That seems to be the critical thing. Also combined with fantastic braking and really good handling. You get those three factors together and those cars were generally successful. Now from our new club room here, we examine what made certain road cars stand out and why they succeeded on the track or the rally circuit. We also take a closer look at a beautifully preserved example of each one and we talk to its proud owner.
And then we'll get some expert advice from the Shannons auction team on current values and what to look out for.
So let's take a look at a model that started life as a dependable and conservative family car, then thrilled motor racing fans around Australia, the VG Valiant Pacer.
The first Chrysler Valiant rocked the Australian market with unprecedented style and performance for an Australian family car. Yet by 1969 the Valiant was stale and a fresh new model was still 2 years away. The interim VG facelift in 1970 switched the lights back on with an all-new six-cylinder engine called the Hemi. The Big Six shocked the Pacer into life and gave it half a chance on the racetrack. Most Australians didn't want a V8 in a family car. The VG Valiant proved them right. Chrysler raced a Pacer that shared its four-door sedan body and local six with its everyday family car range. And for road car buyers, the VG Pacer's extra body details, high back seats, extra instruments and carpet made it great value for money. The hardtop version featured the rear half of the US Dodge Dart. And that raises the question, Mark, why didn't Chrysler race the hardtop?
It's interesting, isn't it? You'd think a two-door hardtop would be the natural race car, but it was in fact a lot heavier than the four-door sedan. The body wasn't anywhere near as rigid and it was like an enormous car. It was too big for the racetrack, so the decision to go with a four-door was pretty easy for Chrysler in the end.
So although slightly smaller than Falcon and Holden rivals, the VG's conservative styling left the Pacer with a big boot, cabin for five and plenty of room for the big inline six. The new six may not have been a true Hemi, but it did breathe better. It was only the lack of flow-through ventilation and vague steering from a steering box that was still mounted to the body highlighted where Chrysler drew the line on spending. Now, Mark, the Pacer didn't cost much more than a basic Valiant. That was just incredible. So it did so well.
It was just amazing what it was up against. When you think of the resources, the comparative resources of Ford and GMH in this country in those days, what Chrysler was up against, they did an absolutely outstanding job. Why not read the full story on the VG Hemi Pacer and many other rare and unique cars here on the Shannons Club website, where you can also join the conversation with other members. The VG Valiant Hemi Pacer was much more than just a development mule for the RT Chargers that followed it into competition. The Pacer was an outstanding performance package in its own right, with a 1970 Bathurst 500 class victory to prove it. Its nemesis was Holden's Tirana GTR XU1, which was much smaller than the Pacer and close to 300 kilograms lighter. To compensate, the Pacer relied on a combination of good handling and massive torque from its larger 4-litre Hemi 6. If you think about it, Joe, it wasn't really fighting its natural enemy on the racetrack, was it? I mean, it was a six-cylinder family sedan. You'd think it would have been up against Ford and Holden full-size sixes, but not the case.
In 1970, it was quite an amazing phenomenon. Here's this very conservative Valiant that everybody equated with the Bowls Club and what have you, and all of a sudden it's running around the track on its own as a six-cylinder family car. It was very unusual and it really captured Australian imagination.
The Pacer's ultimate test came at the 1970 Bathurst 500, for which Chrysler produced a series of factory options with upgrades to engine, drivetrain and chassis to improve the car's durability and performance in competition use. The Pacers were available with either 2-barrel or 4-barrel carburetors, which put them in separate competing classes. The 4-barrel, driven by Des West and Peter Brown, duly claimed a runaway victory in Class D. The 2-barrel, however, had to settle for runner-up honours after the class-leading Pacer, driven by Doug Chivers and Graham Ryan, was forced into the pits on the final lap to replace a flat tyre. As it turned out, nothing could match the firepower of Ford's new Falcon GTHO in outright terms in 1970, but the VG Hemi Pacers certainly showed plenty of class in their one and only Bathurst appearance. You know, it's quite interesting looking back on those Pacer racing days. Leo Gagan, the factory racing driver, said his idea of the ultimate RT Valiant would have been to put the E49 Charger running gear in the VG Hemi Pacer chassis. That would have been quite a car.
Well, what a road car that would have been for a start. But as a race car, the VG Valiant had a longer wheelbase, not quite as long as the Holdens and Falcons, but just the right length for the racetrack. Its weight was better spread throughout the body. I agree with him. It would have been a sensational car, both as a road car and a track car.
Well, the Mopar fans can dream on. Coming up, we meet a passionate car owner from the Shannons Club and all the latest information on auctions with Hammer Time. Well, now it's time to share the passion with a very proud owner of a VG Valiant Hemi Pacer, Des Seaton, who's also a proud member of the Shannons Club.
Hi, my name's Des. This is my pride and joy, a 1970 VG Hemi Pacer. 245 Hemi engine, 3-speed gearbox and the standard 323 rear end. This is what you'd call one of the iconic vehicles of the early 70s. Why else would you have an orange car with red carpet if it wasn't that time and period in our lives that we all try to forget? When it arrived in Melbourne, it had the traditional sun visor, as you can still see fitted to the vehicle. It had the rear unga louver, which I had to take off because the National Trust have classified it. So that'll be going into motoring heritage somewhere, I would think. We tidied up the grille, put some tyres on it, went through it mechanically and got it to the stage where it's at now. I think the favourite feature of this car is the fact that the provenance is there. I sort of like cars that I can prove where they've come from and who's driven them and the history of the vehicle. In my younger life, I did work at a Chrysler dealership, so I was fortunate to be in the industry during that 70s, that muscle car era. Got the opportunity to drive some of these cars when they first appeared on the showroom floor. The Pacer will suit well in my garage because I do have at home a Charger, so I've basically got what one would consider the best of both worlds in the Pacer with the 4-door and the Charger with the 2-door coupe. So I've probably got the Pentastar blood running through my veins.
We're back with Chris Borrobin, Shannon's National Auction Manager. How are you, Chris?
Not too bad, guys.
For someone looking to get in on the ground floor of the Australian muscle car scene, I reckon the VG Valiant Pacer would have to be a pretty good starting point, wouldn't it?
Very affordable Australian classic, really, isn't it? I mean, it's not something that we saw a lot of in its day, and rarer than some of the Ford and the Holdens. But yeah, definitely a great entry point.
And a bit of grunt too. That 6 really goes, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The 6 on a Hemi motor definitely had some grunt, some power behind it, some good torque, and yeah, great car.
How much of a difference in prices now when we talk about the Pacer, you know, with the competition kits they got from the factory, E31, E34, the big Bathurst tank? How much of a difference does that make in price?
The E31s and E34s would probably have to be double the price of a road car today. Quite a good following, but still, there's probably some growth in there still, yeah.
And don't you love that petrol cap on the back? It's one of the best parts of a Pacer.
Absolutely, yeah. The striping, the petrol cap, all help to make the car what it is.
And those colours.
Yeah.
Fantastic colours.
Great 70s colours, yeah.
And the Pacer hardtop was quite rare when new, so logic would suggest it's going to be worth a lot more, but that doesn't seem to have happened. So what is going on with the hardtop prices?
Look, there is quite a following for the hardtop. I've got to say, probably one of the prettiest cars that we put out in Australia. Chrysler really did a great job on the VG. So there definitely is a great following. With the right stripe kit on the car, it looks the part. Yes. But we're also finding that people with families, young families, are opting for the 4-door because it gives them the scope of having the family, taking it out as a weekend driver or as a daily driver, but also great for shows.
It's interesting, the perception is, I think, always has been that the Pacer has, I guess, lived in the shadow of the RT Chargers throughout the last few decades. Is that changing now?
We're seeing an uplift in the values of the Pacers, and they're coming into their own in a way. It has, as you said, lived in the shadows of the E49s and the E38s. But yeah, I think people are delving into the history a bit more now, and pulling out the Pacer because it is quite different, quite an attractive looking car.
Well, thanks for joining us for Hammer Time, Chris. And remember, all the information you want on upcoming Shannons auctions you can find on the Shannons Club website. If you want some great photographs of Chrysler's VG Hemi Pacer competing in 1970, or indeed any Australian competition car you can think of, make sure you check out Australia's most comprehensive online motorsport photo archive at autopics.com.au.
And with a database of more than 760,000 photographs taken by some of Australia's top motorsport photographers, you're sure to find that special shot you've been looking for. So do what we do at the Shannons Club and log on to autopics.com.au.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed our fast blast down memory lane with the fabulous Valiant VG Hemi Pacer. We look forward to your company next time on Shannons Club TV. Bye for now.